Hi, I'm Richard Ashworth. I'm here to talk to you about the year of the Earth Dog 2018. Now, perhaps the first thing to appreciate is that nature doesn't work in straight lines. In other words, the rooster year, the fire rooster year that's just passed 2017 or just passing, doesn't suddenly stop and the Earth Dog begin again. To buy into that idea, you'd have to completely let go of any kind of rational approach at all. What happens is that there is a gentle changeover between the two things. So it's not like a door slamming on a spring. Now, as we come into the Earth Dog, you'll notice particular changes. One is, the Earth Dog is about entrenched positions. So in a sense, what the universe is saying to us this year is, how dark does it need to be before you take notice? Now, the dog is reckoned to be stubborn, but also restless. And particularly, it is very persistent, very consistent. One of the things that I've noticed is Earth Dogs, that is of 1958, ladies born in 1958 are often very good business people. Why would that be? Because they don't know when to say stop. They don't know when to stop. They do not know when to give up. And the dog is very much like that. So we have that kind of a nature. Now, the overarching themes are going to be the same kind of themes that have happened in dog years before, and particularly in Earth Dog years. Because any dog year will be like other dog years, so they happen every 12 years, so 2006 and 1994, for instance. But an Earth Dog year will be very like previous Earth Dog years, such as 1958. In terms of the world, in 1958, the Americans sent troops into the Lebanon, and if you wanted somewhere to focus your prayers, it was around the borders of the Lebanon. And previous dog years indicate things such as a waiting period between firm decisions. I doubt there'll be a general election, for instance, before 2020 for those reasons. In the USA, the year 1838 is an Earth Dog. That's just between the Alamo and the Mexican Wars. And that's very much a point in which the rights of Latin peoples are in focus. And that's an issue that's going to be very prominent this year. However, the overarching theme, personally, diplomatically, internationally, and a number of other ways that might be worthwhile taking particular note of, is what's called the bullying punishment. Now, the bullying punishment is when you have a dog, an ox, and a sheep all arriving together. So if in your bazi, that is to say, in your cocktail of animals, based on your moment of birth, i.e. the animal of your day, the animal of your hour, the animal of your year, the animal of your month, you have either sheep or ox, which is a reasonable bet. In the dog year, this will apply to you. And in point of fact, most of us will have that apply to us one way or another, and all of us will be working through sheep days in ox months, for instance, during the dog year. And this particular thing, which is about triangular relationships, about intervention, about bullying, if this is in a bazi, it very often means someone who has been victimized as a child. It's very much the theme. So if we go back to global themes, if you want to understand Donald Trump, he thinks that he's a victim. And that may come as a kind of a surprise. I mean, that he's the most powerful man in the world and a billionaire by dint of no particular effort of his own. And yet he feels that he is somehow not respected the way he ought to be. Same kind of thing is true of George W. Bush, whose view was he was just avenging his daddy and those kinds of things. Why was everyone so rotten to him? And also Bill Clinton, who figured that his indiscretion with Monica Lewinsky didn't affect his ability to be president. I think I would tend to disagree. But those guys, those bazis are all very similar. Those are all 1946 dogs, and they feel like victims. And that is the theme of the year. It will be focused particularly in January, because it's the month of the ox. So these situations where there seems to be unfairness, unrequested intervention, those kinds of things, particularly in January, also in July, because that's the month of the sheep, also in October, which is the month of the dog, and there'll be relief in the month of April, which is the month of the dragon. There are particular signs that something major will happen, by the way, the third week in April, which I'm not going to go into at this point. But the solution to the bullying punishment is the dragon. Now, what do I mean by this? What I mean is if we are in this situation of unfairness, of stuckness that we can't deal with, of proxy war, that kind of thing, the dragon represents magic. Now, it may be literally that in April things change for you, for the world. It may be that facing southeast, which is where the dragon is, or locating southeast is of help. But it is, the essence of the dragon is magic. What the dragon does is to wiggle his nose and everything changes. And what will change things this year, as the power of woman rises, as we move into what's called the 9th Chinese fate, is trusting that the answers are not necessarily logical or linear. I sometimes say, when you hit a brick wall, you don't need a steam hammer, you need a helicopter. And so much of our time is spent working things out, coming to logical conclusions about things, working them out that way. Yes, we should go as far as we can, but the solution to the conundrum the world finds itself in at the moment, whether we are talking about Donald Trump, whether we're talking about Brexit, whether we're talking about the unfair distribution of wealth, is not going to be solved by logical means alone. As far as logic will go, we follow it. But what is required, if you like, is faith, and that may sound naive to you, and I'm an old hippie. If you like, it's trust. The solution is what you might call love and trust. Now, I will be putting out further videos. We'll be putting out one for each animal to show where you fit in, and we'll say some more things about the dog. But for the time being, what I want you to be aware of is that following this particular model of Chinese metaphysics, the bullying punishment, proxy wars, unfairness is a theme of the year, and our brief this year is to be bigger than that by magical means. So this has been Richard Ashworth talking about the Year of the Dog. I will have more to say, but this perhaps will give you enough to confuse you for the time being. Thank you. Bye-bye.